Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to talk today about how to use Dubsado as a coach. My name is Christy Villasenor, and I have actually two branches of my business. I have my coaching and my more business strategy and part of my business. As you can see here, I have my productivity coaching, my Dubsado VIP day for coaches, and my business intensives for solopreneurs. But today I'm going to focus for my fellow one-on-one coaches on how to use Dubsado as a coach. And that's a key word here, one-on-one coaching. I'm not going to be diving into group coaching, at least not today. I'm going to be focusing on one-on-one coaches. So what I want to jump into first is, how do people even get into my Dubsado account? I do know a few coaches who like to type in everybody that they can think of, all of their leads, anybody maybe that are in a different system, maybe their courses or whatnot, before they try to get them into a one-on-one coaching offer. My system, the way I prefer it and the way I tell other some of my clients to do it, because it's a little bit cleaner in my mind anyway, is in order to be in the Dubsado system, they need to put themselves there. And what I mean by that is they need to book a call with me, or they need to fill out a form, or they need to get some way to actually get themselves into my Dubsado. Before then, they are considered a cold lead that I'm kind of talking to, maybe on Instagram or on email or wherever, and they're not warm enough for me to be in Dubsado until they make that choice. So there are a few ways to get into my Dubsado, but I'm going to talk about it from a coach's point of view. One is a general inquiry, and you can have this on your website. So I'm going to make my face a little bit smaller. You can have this on your website. This is an embedded form, very simple form, just 4 questions. Your name, last name. You don't even have to put last name if you don't want to. Your email and the message. And this could be from anyone who maybe does want to coach with you, or it could be someone who wants you as a guest speaker on their podcast. So this is a great way to have a form on your site that's a little more general. Now, when they're making a choice to be your client, maybe in the coaching capacity, we're going to jump into, and I'm going to show you one of my things over here. Move my face again. This is my coaching consultation. Now, this is not going to be on one of my tutorial accounts, but this is my coaching consultation scheduler link. And how I set this up is, typically my consults are about anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes. So I have a 30-minute duration. I do put the Zoom link, and I know some people are hesitant about putting their entire Zoom link here. You can do a few things. One, write Zoom, and I can show you where if you don't know where, or you can have the short link and then just give them password in the confirmation email. But for me, I've never had a problem. I haven't had anybody try to crash into my meetings. And if so, all of my meetings are set up with waiting rooms. So I'd have to let them in anyway. So for the ease of my clients and for the ease of myself, I put the entire link in, because then that is a smart link in your reminder emails and your confirmation emails of the location is just the link to the Zoom, and it's so much easier and I like it much better. I have used their integration as well, but I always come back to just using these simple links, and this one specifically for consultations. So I do have a Zoom room for different type of calls that I do have, but I do make it just a little bit more simple for myself with doing this way. I also personally like the month view. This is a preference. You can have the list view or the little line view. I like the month view because I'm a month view type of visual person. And then the next part that I really, really do suggest everybody have is a form. So in order for them to actually book it, they need to fill out the form. So mine has a few questions. Now, this one was rebuilt from my actual form, so I'm noticing a few spacing issues. That's fine. So I would recommend, you can stop here or you can have 3 questions, but I recommend anything with questions on there. So I have 5 questions, and this is just to get an idea, to get information from them. And I will say personally, as a coach, if they put "I don't know" or like 1-word answers for each one of these, their consultation does get canceled. And I ask them questions on an email, ask them, "Hey, I don't know if you're ready for a consult yet. Can you just let me know this?" And I give them 1 question. So basically I give them more try. And if they still don't answer it with any, what's that word? Like with any substance, I probably won't go on with them, but that also is a personal decision that I do recommend for some other coaches as well, because in my experience, people who like that, one, either aren't ready for coaching, or two, maybe three things. Two are tire kicking, so they're just trying to see your packages, but they don't have any intent to actually work with you. Or three, they're going to flake and they're not even going to show up to the call. And I've had plenty of times where I cancel an appointment, I ask them one question, they never respond to the email. Now it could be because I might have put them off, which is fine. We are not meant to coach everyone. And even when you do get somebody on a call and they're a great client, but they're not great for you, you can always refer them to someone else. Community over competition is what I enjoy and what I always say. Now, some other questions which I don't currently have on my schedule, on my intake form, is this one. What type of coaching package are they looking for? I noticed this helps for some coaches when they're just trying to get an idea of like, what is the client wanting from me? I don't normally put that on there. Every now and then I would try to see if it makes a difference. Most of the time it doesn't make a difference for me, but it might make a difference for your clients. So depending on your audience, this question might be very helpful. And then just basic information. That's a wrong question, but that could be when they want to ideally work with you. Maybe they want to work with you next week and you're like, I have no time next week. First of all, your consults next week, that's not going to work. But that will give you an idea of like how ready they are to start as well. Maybe they're just ready to go today. Great. Also, what if somebody puts six months down the line? They could be a great candidate for a wait list, which you would still take the call and put them on the wait list. I do like asking what your time zone is, because I'm a night owl and I like to know basically like, what time zone everybody's in, so I don't bother people, but that's mostly my own thing. And it is a custom field, so I do see it on their profile, and I'll show you that in a second. And then I have this, this shouldn't be a really long box, but it doesn't really matter here. But did someone refer you? Now this could be a custom field. However, I found when people don't know what they're writing, it will mess up my own internal tracking. So what I do is ask them here. I might clarify it on the call, and then I enter it in internally of who referred them, just so I can make sure the referral is done correctly. So that is, I showed you now 2 ways to get into my Dubsado. Then from here, let's see what I want to show you. I kind of have this all set up. Oh, I want to show you how I set up my projects. Now, if you're a coach new to Dubsado, don't be scared of the word project. I know it doesn't quite make sense for coaches, but you'll get used to the words here and it'll be completely fine. So projects is just your coaching engagements. And what I do is, unless somebody is going to extend a current agreement, which I'm going to show you what I do when that happens, is every time they have an agreement, maybe somebody worked with me 3 months, 2 months later, they work with me for 6 months. Those are each projects. And that's how I run it. And that's how I prefer to run it. Just because it's much clearer to me. Some people just keep them all in the same one. I get a little confused with that because every project only has one contract. You can have subcontracts, and I'll show you how to do that. And that's more for like extending one. So if somebody works with me for 3 months, and they want to add 3 more sessions, that's easy. I don't have to do a whole new contract for that. I could just add new sessions, give them a new invoice, and call it a day. But for me, I'm going to show you the ones that I would typically suggest for coaches and what I typically use for the coaching side of my business. So we have the leads area, pre-consult, consult, post-consult. Let's talk about those 3 first. Pre-consult. Those are anybody who maybe filled out a general form, who maybe if you're using, you're just kind of inputting in people, or any other way that they haven't booked a consult yet. Or maybe they booked a consult and then it was canceled, and you can kind of revert them back to pre-consult. So this is before booked consult or before a consult. I'm going to get tired of that word consult in a second. So next is consult. So they actually booked a consult, it's pending. There's not much more to explain there. Post-consult is this kind of limbo between being a client after a consult. They're not quite a client yet. Maybe they have to think about it. Maybe they need more time. Maybe you need more time. Maybe you guys are discussing, texting back and forth, what packages they want. Because what I've noticed as a coach and working with other coaches, the proposals are great for certain services in Dubsado, and you can have them pick certain packages and stuff, but it's much more clean and easy if you just have that discussion off of Dubsado and then send them the one that they agree to. There are other services that I have that are super cut and dry, and it's just easy to automate each step of the way. But for one-on-one coaching, it does need a little bit more hands-on approach, because coaching itself is pretty hands-on. It's very connection and intimate and human first, human-centered, human focused first. So you want to have that human connection involved, and not everything is going to get automated, but a lot of it can be, and that's where it's going to save you time. And even if it's not automated, at least it's in there, like forms. Maybe you can't automate your how you send your pre-session form, because I changed how I do my sessions. I can't automate it easily. I can, it's just a very complex for no reason. So I just chose to have it more manual, and that's fine for me because I get to get more on top of my clients. There are sometimes some things you do not want automated because you will lose focus of your client. Sure, you can send them forms here and there, but for like for me with my clients, I don't meet weekly anymore. So I did before, and I did give them weekly pre-work sessions that were just sent out every Sunday, and I was just like, hey, fill this out before your call. But I can't send them out every Sunday now because I don't meet them every week. I meet them 2 times or 3 times a month. So with that, it's just easier for me to keep on track of just like not reading the forms either, because I know some coaches do that, which is fine. Sometimes the pre-work question or pre-session questionnaire is just a tool, and it's not really necessary for the actual coaching session. It's just kind of getting the client to kind of release all of their thoughts before they get on the call, so it's a little bit more focused. Side comment there, but that's just something to keep in mind, that a lot of things can be automated, but not everything should be. All right, so not a good fit. So people live here for me in this status when they're not a good fit. Either they're not a good fit for my current offerings, because I do change them every now and then. Who doesn't? They're not a good fit because maybe I'm a coach that's very heart-centered for people with chronic illnesses and low energy. And I like coaching them with a lower, I don't do high flame coaching currently, is what I'm trying to say. So if they need somebody who's super high flame, I can give them a referral, but it's not a good fit for me. That's an example. And that's totally okay. Or maybe they're just not ready to get coached right now, and we've talked about it and we just know that's not a thing. So maybe I give them access to one of my courses to lead themselves through, and maybe at the end of their course they can actually come back and be a client. And then DNC. This one I don't actually really use on mine, but I have had clients use on theirs, because they're the ones that are entering all of the ones that are not going into Dubsado through forms. DNC is like, maybe you thought about your friend's neighbor from high school, I don't know, and then you contacted them and they were just not, they were just not it. They're not good a person. They were just yelling at you or whatever. And that normally happens with more cold calling and things like that. I would put that under DNC. So you never contact them again, you don't bother them again, you don't cause that problem. That would be the only reason you would need that one. And then of course, follow up. And that could be anybody from here to here to here that needs follow up, that you have an intention to follow up with. Not everybody here or here you're gonna intend to follow up with. Then in jobs. So I have a pre-step before their current client, but I have current client onboarding. And this can also just say onboarding or enrollment or whatever word makes sense for you. This is where you send them the proposal, you send them the packages, you send them the invoice, you send them a contract, everything's here. Then once they're paid, they're signed, they're everything, then they become a current client. And then they're your client for a while, you have a few months, and then near the end of their agreement, you send them a testimonial form. And that would be changing them to pending testimonial. I like separating them out personally, because it reminds me of who I'm trying to get testimonials from. I don't generally chase anybody for testimonials, so I'll ask them like 1 or 2 times and then I'll call it a day. Mostly, for the most part, it's who wants to be chased for a testimonial? Nobody. Who wants to be chasing a testimonial? Nobody. But it's a good area to just keep them in. And then you move them into past client. And having somebody in past client will also help you see if you ever want to re-sign them down the line. maybe if you want to refer them to somebody else, and maybe if they want to refer anybody to you. So every now and then I will take account of my past clients and be like, okay, do I want to work with any of them? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And it has nothing to do against them. Sometimes I feel like they would be served by somebody else, or they're already working with somebody else for a different topic than what I would be working with them for. But I can ask them, hey, I know you had a great time with me. I was wondering, do you know anybody who's looking for my type of coaching? I would be glad to give you my referral fee or whatever. If you want to do that, then you can have them there. And then you can also use tags and things for referral clients as well. I don't have it fully set up on here, but I do have it set up on my account that anybody that's tagged from a referral partner, like a partner that I have a contract with, is actually tagged to them, so I know where they came from. Then what's the next thing I was going to show you? Okay. Okay. So obviously this is a fake account, but first, if you know who Liz Forbes is, we are friends, and that is that. Anyway, so here I want to show you, let's move this down here. I want to show you her profile. I have her birthday here. I don't think that's actually her birthday, but I have her birthday here. I have the time zone here, so I can quickly see it when I want. You can have a referral source here, or you can have a custom map field with referrals or tags, whichever way you want to set that up. And then I wanted to show you the appointment schedulers, because this is a big thing I come across with coaches who want to use the Dubsado scheduler. And I know that it's still a little tricky because it's not a reoccurring appointment scheduler yet, but there's ways to get around it. First, with my packages, I have a kickoff call, and then I have 60-minute calls. So I have a 90-minute call, then 60-minute calls. So the kickoff call, you can do this with all of them. This is already attached them through a workflow, and I can show you the workflows in a moment. But I really want to talk about appointment schedulers because this is what a lot of people have a hang up with. All right, so for this one, and I would suggest too, if you can, if you're super busy, you can figure out another way to do it. But if you can, go in whenever you're going to send them something and actually put in the fixed date range so they can't book any beyond it. For example, for my kickoff calls, I generally want them to book it sooner than later. So I give them a cutoff. Normally the cutoff's actually like 10 days, but I just put this date for the sake of this. So it would show them this one. Okay, and then there is an email that goes off with this. So how I send the kickoff call is their welcome email. And I'll show you the template I use for that in a moment, but that's how they get the kickoff call one. So if you see down here, this kind of like, it's just the basic scheduler. I don't use this here because it doesn't, it's attached to a workflow and it makes more sense. Now for the advanced ones, I would say like you may want to attach a form. Maybe it's the, where is it? Kickoff call questionnaire. You attach a form, make sure you add notifications. I can show you that in another one. This one wasn't fully built out. This was an example. So I want to change this here, and I made sure I didn't do that here. This scheduler can only be used one time per day and once. So that means this copy of it. So if I go back to the scheduling template, I have to change the template because this is 8, I believe. But once it's already in somebody's project, it's their copy of it. So it's a brand new copy. So this one, I want to make sure they only schedule one kickoff call and they don't schedule more than that. Because I've had it before where some coaches have it set up and they actually booked 3 90-minute calls or their longest calls, and then the rest were the regular calls when they only got one of these calls. So always make sure that the schedulers are limited the way they are. Most people will be fine with you rescheduling them, but it does create a hassle for you for no reason if you can just kind of capture it now. I'm going to save that here. I'm going to show you the 3-month one. So this 3-month one, I have this here. So, 3 months, 60 minutes, fixed date range again, because I don't want them to book further than I want them to. Now, typically what I do for these, and you can always edit it after, and I'll explain that in a moment. I feel like I keep saying that, is the dates of the terms of the agreement. So if maybe your contract says from May 15th through August 15th, that is when they can book it. And that's the fixed date range that you're going to go with. And then for the advanced portion, this is where you want the 8 or whatever number they're supposed to be booking with you. So they can book 1 per day because you don't want them to book 2 sessions in a day. and they can use this schedule 8 times. Once they use it, the scheduler is going to stop either outside of the date range. It's going to say there's no more appointments, or once they use it 8 times, it's going to say there's no more appointments. And you and your client can discuss the frequency of them, what makes sense for your package and what you think would work for your client. And again, here, make sure you have the reminder emails. I have some in another calendar appointment scheduler. I have that somewhere else. So I'm gonna jump to somewhere else now and show you, what was I gonna show you? I think I was gonna show you the welcome email, but let me double check. Let me jump over here. Okay. Where's canned emails? I don't have all of my emails in here because it would have taken me a very long time to do that, but I want to show you we can show this one because that's before that. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna show you this one. So this is my enrollment email. It's not the welcome email that I just mentioned. So this is just explaining to them that it's an all-in-one form. They're gonna confirm it, whatever directions I want on there. And this is going to send the actual proposal that's attached to the invoice, that's attached to the contract, which I can show you an example over here, actually. Let's go back to Liz. Okay. So we're going to go here. I'm going to keep moving my face around. And I want to show you the actual form here. So this is what that email is going to send, the email over here, saying confirm, complete contract, and pay the invoice. I want to open this. I want you to see it. It's going to say it's from me, though. I'll explain that in a moment once it loads. I hope this is helping anybody on. Honestly, my goal is if it helps one coach, I'm super happy. Now it's telling me that the form is complete because I faux completed it. I pretended I was her, but I wanted to show you what it looked like. So it says, welcome, Liz. It says who I am, the phases of my coaching package, what it comes with, the payment plan that they agreed to, and the amount, a little testimonial, information, including mailing address, because I actually sent a welcome gift in their birthday. And then, yeah, and then it's submitted. So, and then it goes to the contract, which should all be populated correctly. You may need to edit some contracts if you have a lot of moving pieces. I noticed some coaches have a lot of moving pieces. If you have a contract that will just stand the way it is, great. This is not actually the contract I use. I just grabbed one somewhere. Just contract speak. So I think this was actually a field that got pulled in. This was a field that got pulled in. And then this I actually added in. So there's a few things that you want to add in. Like I said, a lot of things can be automated, but a lot of things need to be touched, especially if you're giving them options. If your standard is always 2 days after whatever, you can probably get away with doing that. But if you want to give some people 2 days and some people 8 days, you're going to have to go in and edit some things. And then this one is the actual invoice, which is obviously not paid because I'm not going to pretend to pay that, but it goes all together and it's super seamless and super helpful. So I'm going to close this. There's something else I was going to show you in here, but I feel like I've showed you everything on hers. And excuse me if my voice is going out. I woke up and it was just not having it today. Let's go to the forms. I'm not going to show you every form because then this be super long and I know you guys don't want to sit there and watch everything. Okay, so you have your coaching agreement. If you have agreements that are very different, maybe you have a coaching agreement for your 3-month coaching program, and then you have a coaching agreement for your VIP day coaching, you may have different contracts. This is the one I mentioned before about the additional session agreement, and that's if they want to add like 2 or 3 sessions on their, either at the tail end or any point in their program, and we're both agreeable to it. I will do that. Otherwise, I would create a whole new contract for them for like another 6 months or whatever. Again, this is just for a few here and there. I have onboarding client intake form, and that's basic information. I suggest you getting like mailing address. So granted, that's on the other form, but if you have any other information like If you're a coach that needs to know their Myers-Briggs, their Strengths Finder, like all of that, like that could be on their intake form. Then a kickoff call questionnaire, and that can look like the life wheel. It can look like asking them a lot of deep questions before the call so you can get a good grip of what's going on in their life. Then mid-program check-in, I like these. It's basically a shorter version of the kickoff questionnaire just to check in. And I personally recommend having them mirror each other. So it's like, if you're going to do maybe half of this one, the question should be the same, because then you can see how it changed. So maybe on this one, you send the life wheel. Then on this one, you send the life wheel again. I don't actually have a wheel because it doesn't look nice in Dubsado. I have like just scale of 1 to 10 type of things. That works really well in Dubsado. You could also add PDFs, but I tend to like to use the actual like form feature. Then end program questionnaire, same thing. It should be like the mid-program questionnaire with a little bit more questions. So I would say the kickoff call is the longest, the mid-program is the shortest, and then the end program is longer than this one, but shorter than that one. Or you can actually mirror these two as the same. I had a client that did that because it worked for her. Then you have your feedback and testimonial. And I like having them together because you can kind of have your client take themselves through the journey of their coaching program. And at the end, ask them for a testimonial, give them examples of where to put it or how to use it, or ask them, hey, can I clean this up for you? And then you approve it. I like that method much more. And then you can approve it and go back and forth on that. And then offboarding, not every coach uses an offboarding form, but you can. And on the offboarding form, it's like, what continued support do they get? Do they get any bonuses now that they're done? And everything is going to be on one page with like links or something, or anything really. You can have anything. I've seen coaches do so many different things for offboarding. Some use their offboarding as a way to re-engage them into another contract. You can do that as well. And then proposals, you did see one already, but for the case of this type of packages that I was creating for this example, and very close to mine, my packages are actually a 4-month package, but for the sake of this, I just went with 3. I have a full pay, a 3 pay, and a 2 pay. And the reason why I have them separated is because it's easier to send out as a coach. When I was doing like VA and OBM work, I can actually have everything together and they can just choose what they wanted, and it made more sense. But for one-on-one coaching, for how the packages that these were going with work, it made more sense to have them just separate proposals that you pick which one to send, and you send that one, and then everything kind of goes with it. And by that, I mean over here, when you go to the workflows, when you go to workflows, I have them actually separated in the type. So type of payment. So I have enrollment, paid in full, PIF is paid in full, onboarding paid in full, so they had to go together, and then enrollment monthly, onboarding monthly, and payment plan 50/50 and 50/50, and that's kind of how I have it. I don't have all my workflows in here, but some other workflows I would suggest you have is if you do weekly session prep forms, you can do that. Just note when you do have the forms, you may have to actually create one form and then duplicate it a million times, 12 times if you do 12, and then just put it in a workflow like that. And actually, let me show you one of these workflows. I'm going to go with onboarding. Okay, let's show you how the onboarding looks. And just for the sake of time, I won't be clicking through all of it because it loads every time. But so the first thing, and so this one gets kicked off. Actually, let's start over here. So the enrollment call kicks off with the changing your project status. It moves it down the pipeline. It creates a to-do. And this is just so I can make sure that the contract and everything's ready to go. I kind of make sure that things are correct for this case. Like I said before, there are cut and dry things that I have that it's just like, I don't need to check it. I know it just works. But for coaching programs, I wanted to make sure that everything makes sense before I send it. For the most part, I don't have to change much. Sometimes the contract dates, I would have to go in and make sure it makes sense, especially if we're not signing right now, but we're signing maybe in a month, or we're signing now, but the program doesn't start for a month or whatnot, or if it's a wait list or whatnot. Then it's going to send the form, and this is the proposal that's all in one. And that's what the workflow is on. It's an all-in-one proposal, and I have it as approved so I can check it. So once I check this and I approve it, it will send it. And it's the proposal with everything we said we talked about, the contract and invoice all together. And then once they pay the invoice, hopefully they also sign the contract, but once they pay the invoice, it'll start the workflow that I was about to talk about, which is this one. So then they're paid, they're your client. Congratulations. It's going to activate their portal. It's going to tag them for the type of coaching. And it's going to, this doesn't actually send. I know it's a send, but it's going to attach it to the portal. And then I believe this also gets attached to the portal, but that should actually be moved up, but that's okay. That gets attached, they get both attached to the portal. And then this appointment scheduler is their welcome email. So it's the welcome email that sends, that one I will open so you can see it. I think I already showed it to you. No, I showed you the other one. Okay. So I'm so excited to work with you. What to expect, contract, package info, everything. Make sure it's correct if you want, but that, and it sends the kickoff call. So once that is done and they schedule it, because this one is actually, where is it? Send appointment scheduler immediately after appointment scheduled. So immediately after the kickoff call is scheduled, they will get an email with their link to the rest of their sessions with instructions of how to book it. They can choose to book it all at once, or they can book it monthly or what have you. And then you can decide from there if you want to send reminder emails. For the most part, people will remember to book calls, but sometimes they don't. And that will kick off, and it'll also put it in their portal, which the kickoff welcome email also talks about their portal. And I believe another email I send talks about their portal. So it actually, gets them on their portal so they can see everything. I wonder if I can open Lizzie's portal so you can see it. Let's see. I think her password should just be this. All right. Said Liz. And if you don't know who that is by now, Vampire Diaries or were they in the originals? Probably Legacies. Anyway. All right. So there's emails in here and everything, but I want to show you the forms. Let's go to the service. Actually, it should be here. There it is. Oh yeah, I did add it on this one. So their schedulers are here. The invoice is here. The contract is here, and the documents are here. And so they can fill these out as they go. Well, this one says completed, but the other ones will populate too. I just didn't put it on her account. So that's this one. And then I have a create to do to check to see if they finished everything, because it's not watching if they finished it because it's just in the portal. So it's just an internal to do. If they finish it, you can just delete it. If they didn't, you can then message them, write them an e-box for them, whatever you needed to do to get them to do it. So I wanted to also talk about payment plans. So for this case, there's a lot of different ways to do payment plans. But for this case, I have the 50/50. And if you do the contract, it can get a little weird. So I would say to do it based off of something else. This is as if I wasn't sending the all-in-one. It works a little bit better that way. And then there's a pay in full, which is simple. It's like 2 days after whatever your deadline is. And then 30-day invoicing, so every 3 months. The reason I chose this versus another way to do it is because it's a little bit clearer to do it this way for some payment plans. However, depending on what kind of service you have, what kind of coaching you have, what you do with your money, you either will be able to do it in payment plans or as a reoccurring invoice. I prefer payment plans versus reoccurring invoices, at least for coaching. I use reoccurring invoices more for like a retainer or something like that never really changes, but also is better suited for that. And then I want to see those payment plans, workflows. I think I already showed you all the main ones anyway. And then I do have 2 of them in here. So little thought about packages and payment plans. This is up to you, and also depends. on your state, kind of depending on how you say it. I have no problem with what's it called? Processing fees. I have no problem with that. I rather pay all the processing fees in the world than try to mess with my bookkeeping any more than I could. So this is just something I would suggest for some people if they want to. Is there's a paid in full version, which is a straight 2,500, and then there is a payment plan version that's ever so slightly higher. This isn't necessarily for the payment processing. This is for the time you're going to use to possibly chase them for that payment. And I just suggest that because it will help cut your losses. And also for some people, it's not an exorbitant amount. I've seen other payment plans that they add an exorbitant amount. That's up to you, totally fine. But I just have it like ever so slightly bumped, at least in this fake case here going on, than I do in this one. So, but I do know some people would be like 2,800 or pay in full for 2,500. And then some people would pay 2,500 because they would save money. So I really hope this helped. Like I mentioned earlier, if this just helped one of you, I would be so thrilled, because Dubsado has really saved my butt a few times by now, in multiple ways. One, it could be that I'm not having a good day. Like I don't feel, I have a chronic illness. So it's very possible that my flare-ups happen and then I can't work, but I wake up the next day and I have invoices paid. I have things sent out. I have people booking calls with me, and I didn't need to do anything extra because it's just there and it's already just living in its own ecosystem, which is really nice. It also helps me keep on track. There are some workflows I specifically have and build for others that are not really automated based, but they're just reminders like, hey, do this, hey, do this, hey, do this. But there's nothing actually happening in the workflow except telling you what to do. And sometimes that's so helpful, especially like I said, if you have a chronic illness or anything that causes like brain fog, where you're normally on top of the world and then you have a day that's really bad brain fog and you're like, oh, I don't remember what I'm supposed to be doing. My Dubsado will remind me. It's fine. So kind of when I'm using my Google Calendar, like sometimes I don't know what I'm doing. My tech is telling me what I'm doing, and that is okay for that day. So with that said, despite what kind of coach you are, I really hope this helps you. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them in the Dubsado community. And it's nice seeing everyone. You guys have a good one.